Comedy is subjective, and that's a fact. Because I might laugh at a meme or an ironic joke, you might laugh at a pun. In fact, comedy is so subjective, there's actually multiple forms of it, like just mentioned. Let's say you're telling a joke about a joke. And then you tell a joke about telling that joke about telling a joke. Pretty meta, right? Meta is a form of humor, especially found online, which is the joke about a joke and is self-aware. Meta is also used in a lot of other places. For example, metadata is data about data. Meta can also become a very similar form of comedy by slightly tweaking the joke. The joke you're telling about the joke can quickly become a joke. Bit ironic, right? Irony is another form of humor, which is often jokes about jokes. Today, post-irony is a big thing online, especially making jokes about bottom text, which is a reference to old memes, which were very lazy and used a different format to what we use today. It's ironic because we've moved on from that joke and it's no longer applicable in the modern world. Or as a cow would say, we've moved on. Puns are a big part of humor today, but why? Puns are really easy to tell. You don't need a picture or writing, you don't need anything to tell them besides your voice most of the time. And because of that, some people find them unfunny for how simple they are. These are called dad jokes, however, on the end of the spectrum, some people find them so unfunny, they're actually offended by them. Offensive and dark humor are very strange forms of humor. For example, dark jokes can range from being vanilla to very taboo topics. Today, dark and offensive humor can get people in big trouble. Unlike irony being on a spectrum where one end can be very, very unfunny, offensive humor can be very, very offensive to some people and even land you in jail. Oh, good joke, right? I mean, someone got hurt. Slapstick is also another form of comedy, and it's also on another spectrum. Let's say I shot someone with a Nerf gun. Pretty lighthearted and funny, right? Now let's say I shot someone with a real gun. Okay, so I don't actually have a real gun, and I can't legally shoot people. But let's imagine I did. It's pretty dark, right? Well, it's also a form of slapstick. So now let's talk absurdities. Absurdities are our second last comedy topic. They're very, very scaled, and you might notice this because in some cases they're random, and in other cases they're just straight up bizarre and offensive and strange and dark. And that's what makes it so special, because it includes all the other forms of comedy we've spoken about today. The thing about absurd humor is that it encases all other forms of humor. So does it make it subjective? Well, yes, all jokes are subjective, but it encases all the other forms, so is it different? Jokes are subjective, but in general, all people laugh under something underneath the absurd banner. So when you're laughing at something absurd, it no longer is subjective, because everyone can laugh at something absurd, except for subjective humor. Subjective humor depends on how general the statement you are making is. For example, let's say I made a joke in another language. A language that you, the viewer, would not understand. We've already established that all jokes are subjective, whether it be biased as we'll call it or absurd. If you told it to another group, well, they wouldn't get it. This is because jokes are always subjective to a group. No matter how big the group is, there's always going to be another group that won't understand it. You can't make a joke that's specific to every single person. Because of this, it is certain that no matter what joke you tell, no matter how you tell it, whether or not you tell it to a group that understands it or not, the joke will be subjective. And that is final.